The video tells the story of an elderly gentleman named Arthur, a resident of the Sunset Meadows assisted living facility. His world has been quietly shrinking ever since his wife, Eleanor, passed away. It was Eleanor's death that truly marked the end of an era, and it was shortly after that his adult children, juggling their own busy lives, made the difficult decision to move him into the home. Arthur doesn't blame them, not really. He understands they have their own families, their own careers, their own stresses. But understanding doesn't ease the loneliness that has settled into his bones like a familiar ache. He spends a lot of time in his small room, surrounded by the carefully curated remnants of a long life. There are faded photographs on his dresser, Eleanor laughing on a beach during a long-ago summer, their 3 children, Michael, Susan, and little David squinting into the sun at a birthday party. He looks at these images and travels back in time. He remembers the warmth of Eleanor's hand in his, the sound of her humming in the kitchen. He remembers the chaos of raising 3 kids, the noise, the arguments over the television remote, the messy bedrooms. It was a full life, a vibrant life. But slowly, inevitably, the nest emptied. Michael moved to another state for a promising job. Susan got married and started her own family in the suburbs. David, the baby, went off to college and then drifted further away, caught up in his own world. The calls became less frequent, the visits shorter. Then Eleanor got sick. Arthur became her caregiver, her constant companion, trying to pour all his love into making her comfortable. When she finally slipped away, the silence she left behind was deafening. He felt not just grief, but a profound sense of being untethered, a solitary ship left adrift in a calm, empty sea. Now his days at Sunset Meadows follow a quiet, predictable rhythm. He eats his meals in the communal dining room, exchanging polite nods with other residents. He sometimes sits in the common area, watching television programs that don't hold his interest. But his true solace is found in a simple spiral-bound notebook. Every day, Arthur sits by the window and writes. He isn't writing a grand memoir or a historical account. He's writing down memories, small moments, the little things he fears his children have forgotten. He writes about the time Michael built a lopsided birdhouse that actually attracted a family of wrens. He writes about Susan's absolute terror on her first day of kindergarten and how she clutched his hand. He writes about David's infectious giggle as a toddler. He fills page after page, not with complaints or guilt, but with love. His deepest, most secret hope is that one day, his children will read these words. He hopes they will find the time to sit down with this notebook and truly understand the depth of a father's love that time and distance have obscured. A small flicker of light in Arthur's routine comes from a young boy named Leo, who lives with his parents in a house near the facility's garden. Leo often plays outside, and Arthur, taking his slow walks, will stop to watch him chase butterflies or kick a ball. The boy's boundless energy and innocent smile are a powerful reminder of his own youngest son, David, at that same age. Sometimes, Leo will run up to the fence and chat with the old man, showing him an interesting rock or asking about the flowers. These brief, uncomplicated interactions are treasures to Arthur. They are genuine, unhurried, and free of the awkward tension that now colors conversations with his own children. He does try to reach out to them. He calls Michael on a Sunday afternoon, but his son is distracted, half listening while helping his own son with a school project. "I'll call you back soon, Dad," he says, but the call never comes. He leaves a voicemail for Susan, telling her he was just thinking about her, and receives a brief text message hours later. "Thinking of you too, Dad. Crazy week. XO." He knows she means well, but the words feel hollow, typed in haste. David is the hardest to reach, his calls often going straight to voicemail. Arthur leaves gentle messages, asking how he is, saying there's no pressure to call back. He doesn't want to be a burden. He just wants to be remembered. One afternoon, driven by a deep, quiet desperation, Arthur decides on a different approach. He takes out his notebook and, instead of just writing for himself, he writes 3 separate letters. He writes to Michael, remembering the day he taught him to ride a bike and the look of fierce pride on his face when he finally pedaled away on his own. He writes to Susan, recalling how she used to make him tea in her tiny plastic cups, a solemn and important ritual. He writes to David, telling him about the night he was born, the overwhelming love that hit him the moment he held his smallest son in his arms. He mails the letters, not expecting much, but feeling a small sense of peace for having sent them. Then, a few days later, something remarkable happens. A letter arrives for him, the handwriting on the envelope unmistakably Michael's. With trembling hands, Arthur opens it. It's a long letter, and in it, Michael apologizes. He writes that he's been so caught up in being a father himself that he forgot what it means to be a son. He says Arthur's letter made him cry, and it made him realize how much he misses him. He promises to visit the very next weekend, and he says he's bringing his wife and children. Arthur reads the letter 3 times, a warmth spreading through his chest that he hasn't felt in years. A tiny spark of hope, fragile but real, ignites within him. And Michael keeps his promise. The following Saturday, he arrives with his family. His son and daughter, Arthur's grandchildren, are shy at first, but soon warm up. A little while later, there's another surprise. Susan appears, having driven up after Michael called her. For the first time in years, Arthur's room is filled with the sound of family laughter, overlapping conversations, the joyful noise of children. They don't talk about anything profound. They talk about school, about work, about silly memories. But to Arthur, it's everything. It's the sound of connection being restored. His heart, which had felt so cold and empty, is now overflowing with a warmth he thought he'd lost forever. As the afternoon sun streams through the window, Arthur looks around at his children and grandchildren. He sees Eleanor's smile in Susan, his own stubbornness in Michael, and in the youngest, a glimmer of David's childhood wonder. He realizes in that moment that while life is filled with loss and loneliness, it is also punctuated by moments of profound grace. The letters, the notebook, the years of quiet longing, it had all led to this. It wasn't about grand gestures or fixing the past. It was about presence, about showing up, about remembering that love, though it can be stretched thin by time and distance, is a cord that can never truly be broken. Arthur feels a deep, abiding peace settle over him, a quiet gratitude for this imperfect, beautiful, reconnected family. He knows the most important thing he ever wrote wasn't in his notebook, but in the hearts of his children, a story of love that would continue long after he was gone.